Good morning, students. We'll start with the today's lecture. In the previous lecture, we have seen the formula for the magnetic field intensity H at the center of a circular conductor, right? Then we have solved several numericals in order to find out the magnetic field intensity due to finite and infinite length of conductor. Okay, we will in the today's lecture we will continue with one of the numerical based on finding the magnetic field intensity due to finite and infinite length of conductor. Then we'll proceed with the Ampere circuital law similar to your Gauss law, right? Then we'll see the curl, right? We have studied gradient divergence. So this is the third special derivative in the electromagnetic theory, that is curl. We'll study this and numericals based on that, right? Okay. Okay, we'll take up this numerical. Find the magnetic field intensity at a point P for the circuit shown in the figure 7.22, right? So this is the conductor. This is in this shape. So let me name them. A to B is one finite length conductor, then B to C, right? Then C, let me take this semicircle CDE, let me call it a CDE. CDE is a semicircle. If I complete it, it will be a circle, circular conductor, but this is semicircle, half of the circle, right? We will divide it. So we know the formula for circular conductor. Then E to A. We have these finite length conductors, right? Okay. And we want to find out magnetic field intensity at point P due to the conductor AB, due to conductor BC, due to conductor CDE, then due to conductor EA, right? All these conductors. We know the formula, so we will do it one by one. We know the magnetic field intensity H due to the finite length conductors. We know the formula, we will do it. Then one more thing, we have to assume that it should be placed somewhere, right? So let me assume that it is placed in XY plane. This loop or this conductor is placed in XY plane. It is placed in XY plane, right? Okay, let me draw the rough diagram here. So it is placed in XY plane means I'll take X axis here and Y axis here. Z axis will be normal or perpendicular to the XY plane, normal to the XY plane, right? Okay, I have taken X axis here, Y axis here and Z axis here. Okay, this is the origin. We'll solve one by one. Okay, just we'll take the section AB. Section AB. Okay, then at the center here, let me draw the perpendicular line. This is the perpendicular line I have to draw here like this. So let me draw it here to point P. Let me take it. So point P is here, right? The same thing. So A to B. So this is 10 meters totally. They are given, right? The current I is flowing in the upward direction in this way, right? Okay, we have drawn the perpendicular line. Okay, then this is conductor end 1, conductor end 2. So the angle we are measuring below, let me call it as alpha 1, and we are measuring above this perpendicular line, so we'll call it as alpha 2. And we know that the H due to the finite length conductor, we know the formula I by 4 pi rho into a sine of alpha 2 minus sine of alpha 1 into A phi. This formula we know. Then okay, we know I current is given, whether it is given or not. Yes, it is given 10 amps. I is equal to 10 amps. Everywhere it is same, right? I is equal to 10 amps. Rho, perpendicular distance from here to here. Just observe here, from here to here, what is this? It is given 20 meters. So it is 20. So perpendicular distance rho is 20. Then I is given, that is 10 amps. Then we have to find out alpha 1 and alpha 2. So how to find out alpha 1 and alpha 2? Tan of alpha 1, right? But alpha 1 is negative. We are measuring the angle below. First let me calculate alpha 1. Later on we will append the sign minus sign. Okay, tan theta equal to opposite by adjacent. Opposite means this one, right? So it is 5 because half of it, right? So this is totally 10. We are drawing the perpendicular line means this is 5 meters, this is 5, this is 5 and this is 5, right? Okay, 5 by opposite by adjacent. So adjacent is 20, right? 5 by 20. Opposite by adjacent. Okay, we will calculate alpha 1. So how much you will get? So tan inverse of 5 by 20. So I am getting it as 14.036 degree. But alpha 1 is measured below this perpendicular line, so it is negative. So alpha 1 is equal to minus 14.036 degree because it is measured below this perpendicular line. Similarly, we will calculate alpha 2. Tan of alpha 2 equal to opposite by adjacent, 5 by 20 once again, right? Opposite by adjacent, 20. So the angle will be same because we already calculated alpha 2 is equal to 14.036 degree, but here it is positive because it is measured above the perpendicular line. So we will calculate, let us call h due to the section AB, let me call it as HAB so that it will be very clear. HAB. So I is how much? 10 amps by 4 into pi into rho is how much? 20. Sine of alpha 2 is 14.036 degree minus sine of alpha 1 is minus 14.036 degree. One more thing, what is this A5? Observe here, the current I is flowing in the upward direction. Use the right hand thumb rule or right hand screw rule, right? Okay, if I am using right hand thumb rule, the thumb is pointing in the direction of the flow of current. What is the folded fingers? The folded fingers are telling that the magnetic flux lines are entering the point P here and they are going away from the PPT. They are entering the PPT here, right? They are not coming out of the PPT. They are entering the PPT here or board, right? So just have a look at it. This conductor is placed in XY plane. If it is entering the point P and it is entering the PPT, means it is going towards negative Z axis in this direction, right? So Fi is nothing but minus AZ here. I hope you are getting what I am telling. Fi is equal to minus AZ because it is moving in the negative Z axis direction, right? It is entering point P, means it is moving towards negative Z axis. So Fi is equal to minus AZ. So we'll substitute minus AZ here for Fi, right? Okay, we'll calculate this. What we are going to get, we'll calculate HAB is equal to, so sine of 14.036 minus sine of open bracket minus 14.036 into 10 divided by 4 into pi into 20. Okay, minus 0.019, but this minus is there, so I'll take minus 0.0193 AZ, right? Ampere meter. We have calculated for AB. Similarly, we have to calculate for BC, HB to C, right? So observe, okay, just we will observe the direction of the rotation of the flux here. If I consider the right hand thumb rule, once again it is going into the board only, right? It is going into the board. So let me calculate HBC. Consider the section BC. We will draw the diagram here. BC is there, right? So from point P, we have to draw that per line. This is conductor end 1, conductor end 2. We will draw it like this, right? So conductor end 1, conductor end 2. So I'll be drawing here. Point P is here. So from point P, this is B to C, right? So we will join to conductor end 1 and it is already joined to conductor end 2. This is conductor end 1, conductor end 2. So for conductor end 1, we will measure the angle alpha 1, right? For conductor end 2, see, you can observe here alpha 2, it is 0 degree only, right? So it is perpendicular, right? So if it is not going away from it, right? So it is alpha 2 is 0 here, right? Okay, this is perpendicular line and also it is joining the conductor end 2. Just whether it is above or below we have to decide. Just rotate it, right? So rotate it, this B will come down, C will come up, right? So alpha 1 is measured below, right? So it is negative once again here. Okay, I will calculate HBC, right? So the same formula, I by finite length conductor 4 pi rho into sine of alpha 2. No need to write the formula once again, but I am writing here into A5. Okay, rho we want to calculate the perpendicular distance from here to here. This is the perpendicular distance, right? So what is this perpendicular distance from here to here? Total is 10, so it is 5, right? This is 5. So rho is 5. Next, we will calculate alpha 1. So tan of alpha 1 is equal to opposite by adjacent, right? This is opposite, right? So opposite is how much? 20. And adjacent is how much? It is 5. So 20 by 5. Is it fine? Opposite by, let me check it once again. Yes, opposite by adjacent, correct. 5 1 ja 5 4 ja 20, right? So alpha 1 is equal to tan inverse of 4. So we'll calculate tan inverse of 4. So we are getting it as 75.963 degree. But observe here, alpha 1 is measured below this. Just rotate it. Rotate it so that CB will come straight like this, right? And P will come here. So it is below. Angle is measured below. So alpha 1 is minus. So alpha 1 is equal to minus 75.963 degree. What about alpha 2? It is 0 degree because conductor and 2 and perpendicular line, they are coinciding. So alpha 2 equal to 0 degree. So we came to know everything. What is A phi? The same thing. Just observe the direction of the uh, current here, right? Use the right hand thumb rule. It is going into the PPT. Means A phi is equal to minus AZ. Once the same thing. So we'll substitute and calculate HBC. So I is how much? Current I is 10 amps. 10 by 4 pi rho into sine of alpha 2. It is 0 minus sine of alpha 1. Alpha 1 is minus 75.963 into minus AZ. A phi is minus AZ. So we'll calculate this HBC. How much we will get? Okay, rho is how much? 4 pi rho. Rho is how much? 5. So we'll substitute here 5, right? 4 pi into 5. Okay, sine 0 is 0, right? Sine 0 minus sine of open bracket minus 75.963. So I'll get this, multiply with 10, then divide by 4 into pi into 5. So I am getting this as, this minus sign is there, take this minus sign as it is. So 0.1544, 1544 AZ ampere meter. Is it fine? The next section AB is over, section BC is over. Next CDE, semicircle, right? So semicircle CDE, section CDE, section CDE. Okay, let me draw it. Let me draw D shapes first so that it will be easy for me. Okay, this is the center P, right? Okay, C D E. So point P is here, right? The current I is flowing in this direction. Yes. Then perpendicular distance. Okay, CD. H due to circular conductor we know. HCD, let me call it as HCDE. This is a semicircle, but we'll assume that this is circle and we will divide by 2, right? So H due to circular conductor is I by 2R into AN. I by 2R into AN. This formula we know. This is for circular conductor. For circular conductor. But it is semicircle means we have to divide by 2. So divide by 2. I hope you are getting what I am written. HCDE, semicircle, right? For circular conductor it is I by 2R into AN. Divide by 2 we will get for semicircle, right? This is for semicircle. Semicircular conductor or semicircle we will write. Is it fine? Okay. R, what is this R? We have to calculate the radius here, right? How much they are given? They are given anything here from here to here. It is 5 means it, this is 5 means this has to be 5 only, right? Everywhere, right? 5, right? 5. So R is 5 here. Then what about AN? Just observe they use the right hand thumb rule. Once again, it is going into the PPT, means AN is nothing but minus AZ only here. AN is nothing but here minus AZ. So we will calculate HCDE after substitution. If any doubts are there, please unmute yourself and talk to me, right? So I by 2R by 2 means I by 4R, right? So what is I? I is 10 amps divided by 2 to the 4 into R. R is how much? 5. So AN is nothing but minus AZ. So we will calculate this. 10 divided by 4 5 is 20, right? 10 by 20. So it is 0.5 minus sign is there, 0.5 AZ ampere meter. Is it fine? Then next we'll move to the next section. Section E to A. Okay, we have calculated for B to C, right? It will be the same thing, right? But observe the direction. Just use the right hand thumb rule. Once again, it is going into the paper. A5 is equal to minus AZ, means EA is equal to HBC. Whatever you will calculate, it will be same. So section EA, I will write it section EA. Section EA. So HEA we want to calculate. It is same as B to C. HB to C. We have already calculated. So what is that HBC? Minus 0.1544. Minus 0.1544 AZ ampere meter. I hope you are getting this. B to C, E to A. No need to calculate once again, right? If you calculate, you will get the same thing. Okay. Then next, I want total magnetic field intensity at point P due to all these conductors AB, BC, CDE and EA. So total magnetic field intensity. Total magnetic field intensity at point P due to all the sections of conductor, right, is given by H total is equal to H A to B, AB, BC, CDE, EA, right? H AB, BC plus CDE plus H EA, I think, right? Yes. HEA, yes, correct. So we'll calculate total magnetic field intensity. HAB is how much? So minus 0.0193. Minus 0.0193 AZ. BC is minus 0.1544 AZ. Then CDE is minus 0.5 AZ. Then EA is same as BC. Here it is there, right? So minus 0.1544 AZ. So we'll calculate the H total. So it is equal to minus 0.0193 minus 0.1544 minus 0.5 minus 0.1544. So I am getting it as minus 0.8281 AZ ampere meter. Okay, let us verify this solution. Is it fine? Minus 0.8281. Already I have the solution here. 0.8281. Is it fine? AZ ampere meter. Yes. If any doubts are there, you can unmute yourself and talk to them so that I can. Yes. We'll move to the next topic, that is Ampere circuital law. Okay, already we have seen while we were studying the static electric fields, we have seen the Coulomb's law and Gauss law, right? We have already studied Biot-Savart law with respect to this steady magnetic field, right? So Biot-Savart law is similar to Coulomb's law. It is not same but similar. So here once again the Ampere circuital law, next what we are going to study, it is similar to Gauss law, right? So Ampere circuital law is also called as Ampere's work law. Okay, we will see. We try to define this Ampere circuital law. Just observe here, this is the cylindrical conductor, right? Cylindrical conductor, the current I is flowing in this direction, right? Okay, there are three paths. Let me call this as path A, closed path A, closed path B and closed path C. There are three closed paths enclosing this. Let me see. This is path A. It is enclosing in the circular way, right? It is enclosing this conductor. Then path B, it is a rectangular path or square path, right? So from here to here, here to here, it is enclosing this conductor. Observe path C, it is enclosing, but it is not enclosing this complete conductor. It is enclosed, it is here, you can see here, it is passing in the middle of this conductor. It is enclosing half of the conductor, not the complete conductor, right? So it is enclosing here, but half of the conductor, you can observe here. Is it fine? Okay, path A, path B are completely enclosing this conductor, but path C is enclosing only half of the conductor, not the complete conductor. Okay, I hope you understood this diagram. Okay, then we'll define the Ampere circuital law. The Ampere circuital law defines that this is the mathematical form of the Ampere circuit. The closed line integral of h dot dl is equal to I. And what is the Gauss law? Right? Closed surface integral law of d dot ds equal to q. Right? This is the Gauss law. Here, just compare with this. Just it is not similar. Just compare and so that you will remember. Closed line integral of h dot dl is equal to I. It was the total charge enclosed by the surface. Here, the total current enclosed by this path, path A, path B, path C, right? So the closed line integral of h dot dl is equal to I. So that statement goes like this: the line integral of h about any closed path. So the closed path may be anything, A or B or C. The closed line the line integral of the H, the magnetic field intensity about any closed path is exactly equal to the direct current enclosed by that path, right? So if I consider the closed path, it is the closed line integral of this path H dot dl is equal to the total amount of current enclosed by that path. For path A and path B, it is completely I. But for path C, observe here, it is enclosing only half of the conductor, so it is I by 2. If I assume that the path C is enclosing 50% of the conductor, it is not enclosing the complete conductor as that of the path A and path B. The path C, it is the closed path, but it is enclosing only 50%. 50% means, so it is closed line integral h dot dl equal to I by 2. Only 50% of the current is enclosed, not the 100%. Got it? I hope you got it. What is the meaning of it, right? So Ampere circuital law is also called as Ampere's work law. So this is the statement: the line integral of H about any closed path is equal to the direct current enclosed by that path or by that closed path. I hope you understood this, right? So this is the Gauss law, and this is the Ampere circuital law, similar to your Gauss law. Okay. Next, we'll see the applications of Ampere circuital law. Already we have seen there applications of Gauss law, right? We have derived the electric field intensity due to point charge, line charge using Gauss law also, right? Using Coulomb's law also we have done, using Gauss law also we have done. Here also we will see the applications of Ampere circuital law. So there are several applications I have listed here. First one, I have listed 3 applications here. We can find out the magnetic field intensity H due to infinitely long current carrying conductor using Ampere circuital law. This we have done using Biot-Savart law earlier, right? So if it is infinitely long current carrying conductor means what is H we are getting? There we have already done I by 2 pi rho into Fi. This already we got by using Biot-Savart law. The same we are going to derive using Ampere circuital law. That we will see. Okay, only one thing we will see. Other two just I have listed the applications, but we will not see. The derivations are not there. H due to infinitely long coaxial transmission line carrying current. This we will not see, but we can find out using Ampere circuital law. H due to finite length current carrying solenoid, right? So solenoid you know already, right? So if I have something like this, right? This is a solenoid, right? Okay. So nothing is there, just I have to draw like this. We call this as solenoid, right? Okay. This also will not see. Only will see the derivation of magnetic field intensity due to infinitely long current carrying conductor using the Ampere circuital law. This is important, not using Biot-Savart law. Okay. This diagram we are familiar, right? Yes, the infinitely long conductor is placed along z-axis from minus infinity to plus infinity. It is placed here, right? Okay, x-axis is here, y-axis, and we'll consider the field point here where we want to find out the magnetic field, and let us call this as point 2. And this is the infinite conductor. We will consider only the small differential current element, right? DL, right? This is the source point. We'll call it as point 1. Is it fine? From source point to field point, the distance is r vector and unit vector is ar vector. Is it fine? Okay. From this origin to this field point, it is rho. It is in the radial direction because we are considering cylindrical coordinate system. So this distance is radial distance rho. Rho into arrow, in which direction, right? So this differential current element is at a height of z, z into az, right? Z into az. And current I is flowing in the upward direction, right? In the az direction. So what about the magnetic direction of rotation of flux? It is indicated by this red circular ring here, right? It is in this direction, right? The folded fingers will tell the direction of rotation of the magnetic flux lines. Okay, we know that Ampere circuital law. We will take, this is the Ampere circuital law, closed line integral of H dot dl equal to I. Fine. So we will take this LHS and we will prove that it is current I enclosed by this, right? We will prove this. So we will take this closed line integral of H dot dl, right? Is it fine? Then what is H and what is dl? We should be knowing, right? Okay. What is dl? If it is in cylindrical coordinate system, what is the differential length in cylindrical coordinate system? Let me write it. uh, d rho into a rho, then rho into d phi into a phi plus dz into az. Is it fine? This is the differential length, right? Okay. So d rho into a rho d phi into a phi plus dz into az. This is the differential length in cylindrical coordinate system. Let me verify the scale factors. 1 rho 1, d rho into a rho, d phi into a phi, dz into az. What about h vector? Let me write h vector also here. H vector is equal to h rho into a rho plus h phi into a phi plus hz into az, the component of magnetic field intensity along rho direction, phi direction and z direction. So we have written h vector and dl vector. This is h vector and this is dl vector. Is it fine? Okay, observe here. uh, which component of the magnetic field intensity is there? It is varying in phi direction in 360, means only we have h phi into a phi. Rho component is not there, z component is not there, means if I take a phi into a rho, it will be 0. A phi into a phi I can take. A phi dot az will be 0. So only I have phi component of the dl vector, right? So h phi, I have to take the dot product of these two, h phi rho d phi. A phi dot a phi will be 1. So they have done it here, h phi dot rho d phi. I hope you are getting this. A phi dot a phi will be 1, right? But phi is varying in 360 degrees, 0 to 2 pi, right? Phi. So 0 to, this is the direction of phi. Phi is equal to 0 to 2 pi, right? So h phi and rho are taken out. So integrate over from 0 to 2 pi over the phi, we will get 2 pi, right? So 2 pi rho into h phi. What is closed line integral of h dot dl is equal to h phi into 2 pi rho. But it is equal to I because this is by Ampere circuital law, right? We can equate it to I, right? Okay, h phi into 2 pi rho equal to I. So what about h phi? H phi is equal to I divided by 2 pi rho. We got, right? H vector is equal to I by 2 pi rho into a phi. By using Biot-Savart law we have done. Here we are using Ampere circuital law and we have proved that h phi is equal to I by 2 pi rho. But this is the component of the magnetic field intensity along phi direction. But if I write in terms of vector, h vector is equal to I by 2 pi rho into a phi vector. Is it fine? I hope you got it. It is nothing but h vector is equal to h phi into a phi. So h phi is this. This is h phi, right? H phi into a phi. So we have derived the magnetic field intensity due to infinitely long current carrying conductor using Ampere circuital law. We got the same result. H vector is equal to I by 2 pi rho into a phi amp per meter. Got it? Then next we will see the third special derivative in the field theory, that is the curl. Already we have seen the gradient and divergence. We have seen the gradient and we have seen the divergence. And next, this is the third special derivative in the electromagnetic theory, that is curl. We will see, right? Okay, just I will give the example of gradient, divergence and curl. I hope already I have given in the first initial classes, but let me recall it and give you, right? So just don't look at the PPT, just I will explain. There is a river bank, right? Okay, let me draw here only. Okay, I will take here. There is a river bank, river is flowing in this direction, right? Okay, there is a tree by the side of the river bank. This is my tree, how I draw. Okay, there is a tree by the side of the river bank. A leaf will fall into the river. A leaf will fall into the river. This is the leaf what I am drawing here, right? This is my leaf. Don't okay, a leaf has fallen into the river. The velocity of water is in this direction, right? Okay, yes, the leaf will travel in this direction, right? So it will move from here to here, let me assume, right? And then now the leaf will come here. This is here, it will come from point A to point B. But there is a variation in the velocity from point A to point B. So this we call it as, this variation of the velocity we will measure it by using gradient. Just we have measured the variation in potential, right? Here variation in velocity, we measure it by gradient. Got it? Gradient. Then while moving in the river, slightly the leaf will not be stationary, it will be moving left and right. Just it will tilt, right? It will not move straight like this only, it will just tilt, it will dance and move, it will dance and move, it will tilt towards left right and move, or it depends on the movement or the disturbance in the water there, right? It will, but it will not be in constant, right? So that movement is captured by divergence, the spreading nature, divergence, right? The leaf will not move straight with stationary, just it will be moving in random directions, maybe towards left, it will rotate once, it will to right or something like that. So the spreading nature of the field is measured by divergence. Here the motion of the leaf in different directions is captured by divergence. I hope you got it. Then next, the third one, curl. Okay, let us assume that there is a whirlpool. Suddenly the whirlpool will come here. Whirlpool, you know, Suli, right? You call it as, there is a whirlpool in the river. Then what will happen? Suppose the leaf comes over here. If the leaf comes over here, it will continuously rotate. The rotational effect of that leaf we will captured by this curl. I hope you understood gradient, divergence and curl by this simple example, right? Gradient, divergence and curl. Already we have studied gradient and divergence. The third special derivative in electromagnetic theory will see it, that is curl. Okay. Okay, how to define curl I will explain, right? Yes, and sim we will compare with the electrostatics or static electric field what you have studied. We have applied the Gauss law to the differential volume element, right? Means we have applied Gauss law for symmetrical charge distribution as well as asymmetrical charge distribution. Gauss law for symmetrical charge distribution was very easy because we can choose the Gaussian surface very easily. But if it is Gauss law is applied for asymmetrical charge distribution, choosing the Gaussian surface is a big headache. So then we went and we have taken the differential volume element and we have developed the concept of divergence there, right? Here, in the same way, in the magnetostatics or the steady magnetic fields, we will use the Ampere circuital law is applied to the differential surface element to develop the concept of curl. I will tell you what is this. Okay, just observe here. I am not worried about the, okay, this is on the closed path they have taken from 1 to 2. This is x-axis, y-axis and z-axis. So we are considering the closed path here, 1 to 2, 2 to 3, 3 to 4, 4 to 5. Oh, sorry, 4 to 1 once again. So 1 to 2, that observe the direction is from 1 to 2 here, 2 to 3, 3 to 4, 4 to 1. So since it is parallel to x-axis, this distance 1 to 2 will call it as delta y. Since it is parallel to x-axis, we'll call this distance as delta x from 4 to 1. Is it fine? Okay, this is having rotation, right? Then usually curl is applied whenever there is a rotational effect. So always whenever the current, if there is a current carrying conductor by surrounding which there are the magnetic flux lines which are having rotational effect, right? They are in the circular fashion. So at that time we have to apply the curl. Curl is applied for those quantities which have circulation effect or rotational effect, right? If there is no rotational effect, curl is zero. If there is a rotational effect, then curl is having some value, right? That we will see it, right? So curl is suitably applied for the magnetic field intensity, because magnetic flux density or magnetic flux lines, because the magnetic flux lines are surrounding the conductor. Whenever the current I is flowing through the conductor, the magnetic flux lines, suppose let me take this conductor, current I is flowing in this direction. By using the right hand thumb rule, we can calculate that the magnetic flux lines are in this direction, right? They are having circular nature. Is it fine? Circular nature, right? I got it. So at that time we can apply the curl, right? So I hope you understood what I'm mean to say. Okay, which is responsible for generation of this magnetic flux lines? The current I. I am not here. The source is current I. We are not here for theoretical purpose. We will not consider the source. Let me assume that the magnetic field intensity is in this direction, right? This is the nature. But I am not worried about the source, whether it is current or whatever. I am not worried about the source. The magnetic field is having this nature. It is having this circular rotational effect from 1 to 2, 2 to 3, 3 to 4, 4 to 1. If I consider the magnetic field intensity H here, it is varying in all the directions. Hx into Ax, Hy into Ay, Hz into Az. I hope you got it. Similarly, we have done dx into Ax, dy into Ay, dz into Az, differential volume element. Please recall it, right? There we were also not worried about the source of the field. Here also we are not worried about the source of the magnetic field. Just we are taking the magnetic field. We are not worried about the source, right? Okay. Okay, just we'll define the curl here. Curl of H is equal to, see here, limit delta S tending towards 0, closed line integral of H dot dl divided by delta S. This is nothing but, closed line H dot dl is nothing but, this is equal to I, right? So I by delta S means current passing through unit surface area. As the surface area tends towards 0, means this surface area will go on decreasing, and you will calculate what is the curl at this point. Just go on decreasing the surface area, right? Okay. So simply we can define curl as circulation per unit area. So this is the circulation. If I consider this unit area, smaller unit area, this one still it can be reduced. Circulation per unit area, right? This is the surface what we are considering. Circulation per unit area still means finally at the point we want to calculate. So current passing through unit surface area is nothing but current density J. J is equal to I by S, current passing through unit surface area, right? So we always define current density at a point, means at this point finally we want to find out what is the curl. So the curl of H, divergence of D, right? Divergence of D, we have written it as del dot D here, right? There. So here curl of H, we will take it as del cross H. Del is a vector operator, H is also a vector quantity. So the cross product del cross H is equal to J. This quantity is nothing but J. Then what about this curl of H and N, right? So if curl of H is there in this direction, so the effect of the curl will be either in the normal direction, either it is coming out of the PPT or entering the PPT, but it will be normal. So that N indicates it is normal. It normal to the, if I take this PPT as a plane, it will be normal. It may be coming out of this PPT or entering the PPT, right? The effect of the curl. I hope you got it. So the effect of the curl, or here the effect of the curl, that is with respect to the magnetic field intensity, is nothing but current. Current I may be entering or leaving. Here just observe whether it is entering PPT or leaving PPT. Just look at the direction of the magnetic flux lines. Hold the right hand thumb rule like this. Yes, if I hold, I am getting that they are coming out of this PPT. The thumb is indicating the direction of flow of current is outside the PPT. It means it is coming towards me, right? Because the magnetic field lines are in the anti-clockwise direction. The current I will be coming out of the PPT, towards me, right? I hope you got it. So N indicates the normal, the effect of the curl will be in the normal direction. That is the indication, right? So circulation per unit vector area is defined as curl of H. This N indicates the effect of the curl will be in the normal direction. Limit delta S tending towards 0. Closed line integral of H dot dl by delta S. You can don't need to write N, right? Finally, we can write curl H is equal to del cross H, that is equal to J, because this is I by S, current passing through unit circle. Curl H is equal to del cross H, that is equal to J. And this we call it as point form of Ampere circuital law, right? So at this point, means just I will go on decreasing this. I will consider the smaller surface area. At this point, I want to find out what is the rotational effect. What is the curl at this point? What is the current density? It is, if I find out the curl at this point, it is as good as finding the current density J, because curl of H is equal to J. I hope you got it. Yes, this we call it as point form of Ampere's circuital law, and this is integral form of Ampere's circuital law is closed line integral of H dot dl equal to I, right? So this is the integral form of Ampere's circuital law, and this is the point form of Ampere's circuital law. Then similar to Gauss law, so this is integral form of del d dot ds is equal to q. This is integral form of Gauss law. Then what is the point form of Gauss law? Del dot d vector equal to rho v. This is the point form of Gauss law. We have seen with respect to divergence, right? Here we call it as curl with respect to magnetic field intensity. Please keep in the mind, always curl is applied for the quantities which have rotational effect. Suppose the quantity has the rotational effect, the curl of H is not 0, it will get some value. If it is not having any rotational effect, the curl of H is 0, it vanishes. Okay, I hope you understood this. Okay, just I have listed few formulas of gradient, divergence, curl and Laplacian. So before that, already you are familiar, the general coordinates u, v, w I have taken. In Cartesian, u, v, w is x, y, z. In cylindrical, it is rho, phi, z. In spherical, it is r, theta, phi. Just for recalling, I have written here the scale factors. In Cartesian, it is 1, 1, 1, h1, h2, h3. Here it is cylindrical 1, rho, 1. In spherical, it is 1, r, r sin theta. You know this, just I have listed in this PPT. And once again, all the formulas are listed, how to write the gradient in all the three coordinate system, how to write the formula of divergence in all the three coordinate system, if I remember this. Similarly curl, similarly Laplacian, right? So if you remember the first term, this is sufficient for writing the gradient, because summation of this means we can continue, right? Similarly divergence, 1 by h1 h2 and 3, summation of this first term, if you remember this, that is sufficient. Then curl, how to find out curl? This is very important. Observe here, del cross H, determinant of, we will write the curl in the form of determinant of AU, AV, AW. If it is Cartesian, it is AX, AY, AZ. If it is cylindrical, A rho, A phi, AZ. Similarly spherical. Then the unit vector divided by H2, H3. Next, second quantity is 2, 3 is over. Next, 2, 3, 3, 1, 1, 2. I hope you are getting how to write it. Then next, write down the components of this vector del. Del is a vector operator. So write down the components of this vector, dou by dou u, dou by dou v, dou by dou w. If it is Cartesian, dou by dou x, dou by dou y, dou by dou z. If it is cylindrical, dou by dou rho, dou by dou phi, dou by dou z. Right? Then in the third row, you write down the components of H vector, HU, HV, HW. Then multiply the scale factors H1, H2, H3. I hope you got it. But if I take Cartesian, H1, H2, H3 are 1, 1. So Hx, Hy, Hz. How to write the formula you came to know? Always you start from H2, H3. You can observe always here. So here first term it is having H2, H3. Here also it is having H2, H3. If it is right Laplacian, here also it is H2, H3 divided by H1. That's all. Right? H2, H3. Just to remember, I am telling, just comparison. That's all. So next we will concentrate only on this here, because we have solved several numericals on gradient, divergence and Laplacian. Next we'll see the curl here, right? So the curl of H, this is in Cartesian system, rectangular coordinate system. If I substitute in this formula, so I'll get Ax, Ay, Az, dou by dou x, dou by dou y, dou by dou z, Hx, Hy, Hz. Similarly, curl of H in cylindrical, let me take determinant, we will not expand it. They have expanded this, no need to expand it, right? If I expand, I will get all these things. I will not worry how to, will just remember only this. Is it fine? We will remember only this formula and we will try to write the formula. Okay, one more thing. Yes, the vector is said to be rotational vector and the vector is said to be irrotational vector. When the vector is said to be rotational vector, if the curl of that particular vector exists, means the curl of vector, it should not be 0, it should be having some value. If it has some value, means then that particular vector is having rotational effect. It will be called that vector as a rotational vector. The curl can be applied to any rotation, not only for magnetic field intensity, for any vector which is having rotational effect, not only for this magnetic field intensity, right? So if the vector is not having any rotational effect, if it is irrotational vector, then curl of h is equal to 0. It vanishes. Curl of h is equal to 0. Right? So some numericals will be given on this. I will give some vector a, 2ax plus 3az. I will ask you whether this vector is rotational or irrotational. So you have to find out del cross h. If you find out if it is equal to 0, then it is irrotational vector. Irrotational vector. If it is not equal to 0, if it is having some value, it is rotational vector. Got it? That's all. I will not be solving the problems, just I am giving the hint. Right? Maybe vector b may be given to you. 2x into 2xy into ax. Something just I am taking. Don't take this as a problem and solve it. 3z into az. Something like this will be given. I will ask you whether this vector b is rotational or del cross b. You find it, right? Del cross a earlier, now del cross b. Got it? The next we will take the example of curl. We will try to understand the example of the curl, right? So observe here, this is the river bed. The water is flowing from left to right in this direction, right? Everywhere, left to right. So this is the bottom of the river. Then this is the surface of the river. The water is flowing in this direction from left to right. Okay, we will place the paddle wheel here. Paddle wheel. So just the paddle wheel will be like this. Observe here the plates. It is not, if you look from top, so just I will draw only one blade. How it will be there, right? You are getting? The blades will be like this, right? The blades will be like this. But if I look from front view, just they appear like lines. So you will, just like your turbines, right? Paddle wheel will be placed here, and I want to find out the curl at this point. Curl at this point. The means the curl of velocity of the water at this point. So we are placing the paddle wheel. Just observe here, some lines have been drawn. Some lines are very longer to the surface. If I go to the bottom, the lines are becoming very short. This indicates that the velocity of the water at the bottom is less. As I move towards the top, the velocity of the water goes on increasing as I move towards the surface. I hope you have got it. So that is indicated by these arrow marks, right? So let me place the paddle wheel here. So the paddle wheel experience this velocity of water. So the velocity will be more here on the top, right? The velocity will be more, but the velocity will be less at the bottom. So finally the direction of rotation of this paddle wheel will be in the clockwise direction. Is it fine? It will rotate like this in this direction, because the velocity will be experienced by these blades. Means the blades will rotate in this direction, because the velocity will be more on the top, the velocity will be less. If it resists also, it can overcome, because the velocity will be more. So finally the paddle wheel will rotate in the clockwise direction. Then what is the effect of that curl? It will be, what is the effect of that curl? It will be going into the board. The curl of velocity of water will be normal, that is inward normal, means it is going into the PPT, right? Is it fine? It will be going into the PPT. I hope you got it. The curl of a water velocity has a direction into the page. It will be rotating in the clockwise direction, but the effect of the curl of velocity of water will be into the page, because curl of h will be in the norm. We have written like this, curl of h. Here velocity, normal direction, means normal direction, means del cross h. Here it is velocity, I should write v instead of h. We got it? It is equal to current density for h, right? So here it will be the curl of velocity of the water will be into the page, into the PPT. We will take the second example, right? So this will be the last topic. We will take the second example. Yes, the current I, whether it is coming, it is the current, you can observe here the current I is entering here, but I will not concentrate on the direction of current. Just I will concentrate on the rotation of the magnetic flux lines. Yes, the magnetic flux lines are rotating in the clockwise direction. The magnetic flux lines are in this direction, clockwise. Then I will place the paddle wheel here, paddle wheel, or curl meter also we say, curl meter or paddle wheel we will say. We will place curl meter. Just observe, as I move towards, this is the conductor. Conductor is at the center. As I move away from the conductor, the magnetic field intensity goes on decreasing. So the magnetic field intensity experienced by these plates towards this side will be more, because the magnetic field intensity will be more. So these wheels will try to move in this direction. But the magnetic field intensity by these lines, by experienced by this, they will try to move in this direction, right? It will try to move in anti-clockwise direction. These blades will experience, it will try to move in clockwise direction. The net rotational flux, rotational motion will be zero. The curl will be zero here because it will not at all rotate. It will not at all rotate. Just observe here why I am telling. See here, the magnetic field intensity experienced by these many blades. See here, let me consider this is near to this, this is near to this, this is near to this blade is near to this blade is near. Most of the blades are experiencing the weak magnetic field here. But here, only few blades are experiencing the strong magnetic field. The net curl is zero. The curl of H is zero. It will not at all rotate in this case. But if I consider the river, it will be rotating in the clockwise direction because the field experienced by the most of the blades that we should consider. The curl is zero in this case. The current is into the page. The cross mark, we use the cross mark to indicate that the current is flowing into the page. Okay. If any doubts are there, you can unmute yourself and speak to me. So we'll stop the lecture.